Hi, I'm Glenn. In this tutorial, we're looking at some very simple ways to draw your earring designs in 3D. Big shout out to the Taz team at Dom Remy in 5Doc. Kylie and I love seeing your students' work on Instagram. I hope this helps with your students' assignments. Your students are looking at the case study of artists like Marley B Designs. She uses a polymer clay material, which is really interesting. The link to download this free PDF you'll find in the description below. So grab your pencil, your eraser, and if you have a Splat 3D isometric drawing tool, we'll be showing you how to use that as well. Let's get started. As a guide, try to keep your design inside these thin guidelines. That'll ensure that your jewelry isn't overly big. So I'm sketching a simple design here. I'm going to round it off at the bottom. So I'm going to need a half a circle. You can see how I've used the center line there to help line it all up. Imagine a hole right there, and we're going to add a little joiner link. Next, I'm going to add another design element below that. I'm sketching a little square to get roughly the size I'll be using, and then inside that crate or guideline I'm going to draw a random shape just to show you how to take a front view and create an isometric or 3D view. I'm using some scrap paper to take the measurements from my front view and transfer them to the center line on my isometric view. So all of those measurements will remain. The difference is that the flat or horizontal lines are now drawn on the isometric angle, on that angle. Those two lines will be where my half circle starts and ends. So let's sketch those in. Notice how the curves are different at the front and the back quarter. Cool. Let me show you how that looks if you're using a Splat 3D drawing tool. I'm lining up the splat with those guidelines, slide it down as far as you want your circle to end, and then just draw that in. Nice work. Next, draw your square guidelines on the isometric drawing. Leave a small gap, and then the height of your square, and then use the isometric tool to draw in those lines. So there is my square guideline, or crate. Great, now I'm just going to roughly sketch in that design element and draw in the joiner link. Yours could be made from metal, thread, leather, whatever fits best with your design. Watch closely as we add some thickness to your material. Check out this point, and where the straight line turns into a curve. Now we're going to place the left-hand arm of the splat and draw maybe a 3mm line backwards. Good. Now we're joining the ends of those lines. Use the splat again if you want, or a ruler. Same thing with those ones. So we're connecting those, and then the curve at the bottom will just disappear tucked behind there. The lines of this element will also need to be copied, but in that direction. Let me show you on some tracing paper. We'll slide those in the splat direction. So it's these ones here that we need to trace again, or in your design, the ones facing the top left. Good, so I'm generally starting from a corner. Cool, you've got this. Here's how you draw the post on the back that attaches the earring to your ear. So it's just two lines on the splat angle, and I've also drawn what looks like a retainer at the back, or a clip. For this tutorial, we're keeping it really simple. I'm just drawing my design onto the front of my earrings. Marley Bean has lots of designs where she glues other layers on top, and you could investigate that, but let's just keep it really simple for the moment. Now I've coloured my design. I'm using a sharp pencil to go around the outside and just really sharpen up the outline. This tiny piece of metal might need a fine liner to help bring it out. Add a really small shadow to make the holes pop. Let's try a different attachment system. This is one possible shape for a hook. Add some beads underneath perhaps, and I think I'll round off the very top of the earring this time, the polymer clay section. So there's my half circle. I'm thinking now how long I want the design to be. Let's keep a really plain shape. The center line on the front view will have the same measurements as the isometric. So let's pop down by that amount. That's going to be the top of the hook. Let's draw that in. Great. Let's add the beads. Now for the curved top, the half circle, I'm drawing 2 lines. I'm transferring those measurements across to the center line, and then I mark in my 2 isometric guidelines. Cool, now remember that will be a long curve and that will be a shorter curve. If using the splat tool, then line up that ellipse with the edges and draw in that half circle. But our sketch doesn't yet have any depth, so let's go ahead and make it the 3 millimeters thick. I'm replacing the splat back onto that ellipse that I sketched. Now I'm going to place my pencil on that edge, anywhere on that edge, and slide it on the pencil 3 millimeters. And I'm just drawing in part of that curve. Where the curve ends, right there, we draw another 3 mil line, and at the bottom we join those up. How did you go? Keep practicing and you'll pick this up in no time, I promise. Here's a speed up of drawing a design. I'm calling this one the rainbow lorikeet, and it kind of is like wings and the different colors, so that's my inspiration. I'm calling this one the lorikeet, just tidying up using a felt tip there. What is the role of critique in the design process? If I told you that my inspiration for the drawing on the left was a waratah, your critique or feedback to me, in a very kind way of course, might be to say, well, the top reminds me more like a thistle, and I'm getting kind of frangipani from the colour at the bottom, not so much waratah. But well drawn, keep going. Asking for critique from your peers is one way to gain evaluation. Let's try another design. Starting on the centre line, here's a small circle that will have the post in behind. I'm drawing in a joiner link, and connected to that, I'm actually going to shape mine to reflect a leaf that perhaps I found in the Australian bush, maybe a eucalypt. I'm using the small ellipse or opening to draw in 3D. Rotate the splat until the bottom edge is horizontal. Now line up or center that ellipse on your center mark and then draw in your ellipse. Next, slide the splat in that direction. You'll notice 2 marks molded into the splat to help you gain that angle. Slide 3 millimeters and draw half an ellipse. Connect the top and the bottom with a short line. I'm judging where I want the top of the leaf to start, around about there. So let's draw an isometric line. We're starting one side of the leaf. Let's have a look at where it ends, around about there. Great, so we'll kind of sketch that curve in. Let's come back and do the other side. You start off drawing these lines really lightly and then just darken them in only when you're pretty firm on your shape. Now let's do the little connection link. And in this case, we're going to use a circle as well. But instead of holding the splat that way, I'm flipping it because I want the circle to come out in the other direction. Kind of like that. All right, so I'm erasing the lines there, and I'd better have a look where I'm starting, and I'm drawing the right hand side of the ellipse, tracing a line on the inside. Can you see how I've got a nice little kind of half circle there? Let's sketch in the few little bits that are missing there. Great. Let me show you one more time. That's pretty tricky. We're sliding in that direction 3 millimeters and we have a disc shape. Now to add that little link, flip your splat, keeping the bottom flat again, and then draw in that half a link. Notice how I'm tracing on the outside of the link to get a bigger link this time. For a circle, hold your splat upright this time. So that's for a really big disc. Slide 3 millimeters, draw your half ellipse, and then the little link behind. On this sketch, I'm going to now ink in by using a felt tip. It's a 0.4. So I'm going around all of that detail carefully. If you're not confident using a felt tip, then I'd just suggest a sharp pencil. If my assignment was to base my design on something Australian, flora or fauna, using a leaf or koala is very obvious. Maybe you could make yours a little bit less obvious and make it a little bit more original, make it your own design. Marley Bean's designs for her earrings and jewellery is absolutely beautiful. Check out her website if you want. I'll put the link in the details below. So I'm basing this design pretty much on the shapes that she's come up with. So I'm using that element, I'm joining it with a link and using a fairly plain shape down below. We're using Marley's design just to practice our drawing skills here. I'm now drawing the 3D version. So let's draw kind of an outline. Let's get the rough shape. It's curved at the bottom. And these little scallops at the top. Great, now let's have a look at the distance for that. So those two distances I'm now marking or transferring across to my isometric design. Let's get those two isometric lines drawn in. And let's curve the top. You could also use the splat tool to draw a curve at the top. Alright, so I'm going to bring the sides down. I think that's how deep I want it. And again, use your isometric angle. We're going to need to make that 3D. Remember, we go from each of the corners a line backwards. And also at the back where that curve disappears. I'm going to just use the splat and slide it on that edge to draw that bit in. Alright, so there's my last line. I just need to make that little top element into 3D and then add some colour. So you can see I'm referencing some ocean colours, and I think I'll call this one the Coral Sea. When you've sketched up lots and lots of design concepts and hopefully had lots of fun in the process, then it's time to evaluate and then determine which of those concepts you'll be moving forward with. Now that you've chosen your final concept or two, we focus in on improving the finer detail. As an example, I've sketched up 3 different options for how I could join the two parts together. You might have ideas for materials, textures, different colours, layers, etc. An element of Marley Bean's clever designs is the use of texture that she imprints into the material. I'd suggest creating your own tactile board. Record with a sketch the different textures that inspire you. Feel free to download these images. There's 3 to choose from, and it may help you to present your final design. Thank you so much for working along with me today. I've really enjoyed it, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep rolling out these free resources. Thanks very much. I'm Glenn. Bye for now.